So, welcome to Sabbath Collective, a community of people interested in celebrating the Sabbath and pursuing God through an Hebraic worldview of Scripture and our times. Tonight, we're going to do something really interesting and probably hits home with all of us, and that is the how and when of letting go. And the how and when of letting go requires both wisdom and courage. Both wisdom and courage. I'm hoping that it doesn't get too dark. I have lights on, but I'm hoping that you can still see. Maybe you have found yourself seeing an X pop up on a friend's Facebook page. I don't know whether that's ever happened to you. And then you find yourself stalking that X, subsequently dreaming up an alternative trajectories of your life. Or perhaps you took a pass on a startup company that just sold for $1 bazillion. Or maybe you are a person who's made a mistake or made a lot of mistakes, and it sort of shifted your whole life's direction. And you are on that constant loop to, what if I'd have made a different decision? Regret and unforgiveness towards self is a huge issue in this one. Hey, Evelyn, good to see you, honey. Shabbat Shalom. Hey, Beth, great to see you. Shabbat Shalom. So, Eckhart Tolle said there is a fine balance between honoring the past and losing yourself in it. You can acknowledge and learn from the mistakes you made and then move on. It's called forgiving yourself. And I think a lot of us kind of know that. But maybe it's one of those things where we say it's easier said than done. Or maybe you had a tragic childhood, a physical or emotional abuse of some sort, a trauma that really affected you. And you find yourself in that loop of, what if I didn't experience that pain? How would my life look different today? Or maybe you were wounded by a trusted friend or a business colleague, and you wonder, what if this didn't happen? How would my life be? In this scenario, hey, Nicole, great to see you. Hey, Katie, good to have you with us. Great to see everyone. In this scenario of a betrayal, when we feel a betrayal, we can sort of construct a revisionist version of the past pain, where you are the hero of your own story, and it becomes 1,000% the other person's fault. And this what if loop is pretty much always the same. No matter what these experiences were, and I just tossed out a half a dozen, no matter what these experiences were, it's pretty much always the same. A different past would have made a different present. So in other words, what we believe, what we kind of fall into, is if we had a different past, we would have had a different present. And we can empower the trauma of our past, the loss of in our past, to such an extent that it literally dominates every single element of our lives. And instead of healing or letting go, whatever that process looks like for you, what we find ourselves in is, without letting go, past abuse can be empowered to become the chronic abuser. So let's just park there one more second and read that again. Without letting go, past abuse can be empowered to become the chronic abuser. Things that make your head explode, right? So think about that. The thing that you felt like was really detrimental, that really caused a loss in your past, by constantly thinking about it, you actually empower it to become a chronic abuser. We are all fully aware, because we've been really talking about this a lot. And when we think about this, right, without letting go, past abuse can be empowered to become the chronic abuser. And we've been talking a lot about neuroscience in the past year, right? Especially since the pandemic, about this loop in the brain and why your brain gets stuck on the loop. And so we all pretty much understand that, right, in our community. It does it for survival. Your brain recognizes a trauma, your emotions get connected with it, and as the saying goes, what fires together wires together, right? And so it's about survival. Your brain is scanning the world for similar situations because it literally thinks you're going to die. It doesn't know the difference between psychological trauma and a physical threat that's going to kill you. And when you keep remembering the pain, rehearsing it, your brain acts as if it has just happened, that it is a very real and present danger. And then letting go of betrayal or abuse, I just want to clarify this, doesn't condone the behavior or minimize the horrors. But letting go does release the chains of the abuse. And again, forgiveness is a huge part of this. So how many of us feel that maybe in this time, because we're really coming out of something very significant, some would say traumatic, some would say there was a lot of good in it, whatever you define as what we just came out of it and what we still are going through, it was a thing, right? A thing that none of us had ever experienced before. And as we're coming out of it, a lot of us are going to be connecting the past pain that we just went through with past pains in our own past. And those connections are going to hinder us from moving forward, okay? So how many people feel like, yes, since I really started to get hope for moving forward, I find myself dreaming or thinking about a lot of the pains of the past. And maybe I realize I have to let go, but I don't really know how to do that. I don't know what that looks like. If you're experiencing that, let me see a thumbs up. And if you're comfortable doing this, the first thing that you say when that comes to your head, like, yeah, I probably need to let that go. When your brain says, no, you can't let that go, because if you're comfortable, post in the comments what your brain tells you why you can't let go. And so I think all of us are really going through this. So letting go of the loss in the past, and again, loss being defined as the grief we feel when deprived of someone or something we value. Okay? So letting go of the loss in the past, it can look like all the things I talked about at the top of this talk, okay? Very different kinds of experiences, but they create a sense of loss. So grief that we feel when deprived of someone or something we value. And so again, that's what we're talking about with this loss in the past. Let me see some of your comments. Evelyn says, because I'm going to hurt the other person. Oh, interesting, Evelyn. Do you mean that if you let something go, you feel that you would hurt another person? Or do you mean that if you talked about it, it would hurt another person? Jim says, survival jobs that take me for granted. Can't let it go. How else do I support myself? So, Jim, what I really hear you saying that with this is that you feel trapped. You feel that you have no choice. You feel like you have no other option. And a person is taking advantage of that and really kind of making you into an indentured servant kind of thing. Alicia says, my old job with my abusive manager, my brain is not letting go because it tries to analyze what I could have done differently to stop that situation and dwells on the abuser and how wrong these actions were. That's a really great example about how our brain not only keeps rehearsing the pain of the past, but now keeps looking for similar situations because it's trying to protect us, okay? But we're actually making that loop. Rebecca says, bad past job experiences, even though I've been at my current job for 4 years and it's very positive. Again, Rebecca, right? Still going through the same thing. It's a loop. Elizabeth says trapped. That's a big one. Yep, absolutely. So this is very common to mankind, right? Whether it's an actual reality that your life would have been better had you married your high school sweetheart or invested in that ground floor of that bazillion-dollar business, or weren't abused or weren't taken advantage of. The story you have told yourself is that it would have been better today. Now, we did a couple weeks ago that Byron Katie quote, is that the truth? Whenever a thought comes into your mind, you ask yourself, is that the truth? And then you have a follow-up question, are you sure that that's the truth? Okay? So when I say you feel as if that loss is affecting your present, and you would be in a good situation if that past pain didn't happen, again, you're experiencing it as a loss. So you have to ask yourself, is that the truth? Would I have a different present now if I didn't go through that past experience? And then you ask yourself again, do I know for sure that that's the truth? So you feel and experience it as a loss. And again, only you can answer that. There's no right or wrong answer with that. Stephanie says, because I'll get taken advantage of again. Oh, okay, this is a really good angle as well. Stephanie is saying here that if I let it go, perhaps someone would take advantage of me again. And we're going to kind of really work through what letting go is. But like connecting Stephanie's observation or question with Jim's and with Alicia's and with Rebecca's, there seems to be definitely a concern of someone is oppressing me, I have to learn from it, or I have to do something different, or it's going to continue to hurt me. So that's the narrative there. So when you feel it as a loss, okay, you have to accept the loss and let it go. Don't argue that it isn't a loss. And I'm going to tell you why that is. A lot of times people, whether it's pastors or life coaches, and I've heard so many philosophers and spiritual people say that no matter what happens, you have to say it was good. I just heard something Tony Robbins said years ago, where he was saying, after his mother died, he kind of went public with the fact that his mother had abused him and his brothers and sister, I think it was. And he was saying, well, my mother was a terrible person. She did terrible things, but I'm thankful for it because it made me the person that I am today. Okay. I get why he says that, but how many of us are at that point with the pain that we've gone through? Don't argue with yourself that it wasn't really a loss, what you experienced. When you hear these different people say, no, nothing can affect you negatively, it's all for your good, and it's all given to you by God or the universe to make you stronger, to empower you. If you say to yourself, oh, it wasn't really a loss, when in fact it very much feels like a loss, you sort of separate. You become this kind of fractured, disassociated person, right? Don't argue that it wasn't a loss when in your heart it feels like a loss. Be true to your heart. Don't invest any more energy into telling yourself that it was all for your good if you don't really believe that. Because now you're sort of lying to yourself, right? And the reason why I say if you don't believe it is because if you did believe that it was all for your good, you probably wouldn't be listening to how to let something go now, right? So just accept that you feel that there was a loss and know that maybe it's time, though, that I let it go. Trying to drag it around with you, a lot of people kind of use this image like, when you don't let things go and you drag things around with you, it's kind of like this. So it's this person that's dragging around all of this baggage, right? And so we need to let go because we don't want to drag things around because it slows us down. But this isn't really a good image of what it is to not let things go. It's really more like this, which is the fact that those chains that are connected to the past are literally holding us in. They're holding us back. We can't break free from them. So it's not that this past loss that we're not letting go is holding us back. It's literally, or dragging us down, it's literally that it's holding us back. 2 Corinthians 10, 3 through 5, really one of my favorite verses, says, "For although we do live in the world, we do not wage war in a worldly way." Now, how does the world wage war against things that it's uncomfortable with? It drinks too much, gets angry, eats too much, spends too much money, tries to mask it, destroy it or erase it, believes lies, gets into denial. All those things are how the world wages war. Because the text goes on, because the weapons we use to wage war are not worldly. In other words, when people are going through pain or loss, what we see most people do is what people in the world do. And hello, it doesn't usually work. The text goes on the contrary, they have God's power for demolishing strongholds. And that word for strongholds is the Greek word ochiroma, and it means walls, but it means prison walls that keep us in like this. And it also means gates, like gates in the city that keep people out. So we have God's power for demolishing strongholds. These are walls that keep others out. And so we think our brain is protecting us, so it keeps everybody away, but it's actually disconnecting us from others, and it's imprisoning us. And here the text says we have God's power to demolish those strongholds. The text goes on, we demolish arguments and every arrogance that raises itself up against the knowledge of God. In other words, everything that says, no, don't go this way, don't go the spiritual way, go this way, everything that raises itself up against the knowledge of God, the text says we take every thought captive and make it obey the Messiah. Now, how do we take every thought captive and make it obey the Messiah? We make it come into alignment by either dismissing it and replacing it or denying it. You cannot relive your past to change your present or your future. So listen to this. I'm going to post this later, but this is really powerful. You cannot relive your past to change your present or your future. So you know how we keep going and reliving the past? You cannot relive your past to change your present or your future. You are only alive in this present moment. Hello, you're not alive in the past anymore. You are only alive in this present moment. Only in this moment is your power to change. And I'm going to post that so you can keep reading it and thinking about it during this week. Only in this moment is your power to change. It's where you are. It's where God is. It's where the world is in time. This moment, the present moment, is where you have the power to change. Not by rehearsing and remembering the past. Let me see if any of you also have more. Rebecca says, For me, it can feel hard to believe that I've been in a job this long when I had so many years that couldn't even last too much. I know, isn't that cool? So Rebecca, that's a cool example of how now that you've had these good experiences and your emotions are connecting to this present moment, they can delete the past. Not that you don't remember it, but you don't act like it's a real and present danger, right? Because again, what fires together wires together. You're experiencing the goodness. So how do we let go? How do we let go? Letting go is simple, but it's not easy. Number one, you choose to let go. In other words, you make a choice to let go. And I think that with all the people that I've been talking to recently, I'm hearing people, I'm feeling this restlessness with people. Like they know that it's time to deal with things. They know that it's time to sort of drop this and move on towards that. They can feel it. So number two, first you have to choose to let it go. Number two, you practice to let it go. It's like the illustration of the church bells that so many people have used, and I've used it. It's really a great illustration of this, that when the church bells are ringing, it's because someone in the old days are pulling the rope, right? And so when they want them to stop ringing, they stop pulling the rope. So the momentum or the action of making the bells ring has stopped. However, it takes a while because the momentum in the bell for it to get slower and slower and softer and softer until you can no longer hear it. I don't know if you can hear that in the background, but there's wind chimes out there and they're making this really pretty bell sound right now as I'm saying this. But that's a great illustration of how we practice to let it go. Letting go of the dream of the past is a process of understandings and acceptances. Say that again. Say it out loud if it helps you to process this. Letting go of the dream of the past is a process of understanding and acceptances. So now, when I talk about letting go of the dream of the past, even for those of you who were hurt, and so we're talking about a painful experience in the past that maybe we're going to let go, the reason why that thing was hurtful for us was because we had a different idea of what it should be, either the experience or the job or the situation or the relationship or whatever it was. We had a dream in that situation of what we wanted it to be, and that dream didn't happen. So again, letting go of the dream of the past is a process of understandings and acceptances. Let me give you two examples of this. I don't think I'm going to get through everything tonight, so we're going to continue this next week because I really want to have more dialogue about what this looks like practically. But I spoke to a young woman of color recently who had a very successful legal career. And what she did was she wrote papers for other attorneys to use in their cases. So she was an attorney herself, but she was this research person that did basically other people used all of her content to win their cases. And she made a ton of money doing this. She was really, really smart at it and really, really good at it. And she had this dream of buying a condo in the Florida Keys and a condo in Colorado. Beth, maybe she wanted to be your neighbor. I'm not sure. But a condo in Florida and a condo in Colorado where she could work remotely, not have any pressure to take care of a house, and bounce back and forth from skiing to scuba diving, which were her two passions, right? And these past few years, she was really kind of confronted with the systemic racism in this country. And all of a sudden, obviously she was aware of it because she had to overcome so much in her own path. But she was on a mission. She was on a track. She had a dream. She wanted to do this. And as she's being confronted more and more with the racism in this country, She was now no longer comfortable with her dream. It made her uncomfortable with this dream. Now, was there anything wrong with this dream? No. Was this a selfish dream? Was this a bougie dream? Was this somehow a sinful dream? No. It was a great dream, and she deserved to have this dream. But all of a sudden, things started to shift for her, and she just wasn't comfortable with her being in that place that she envisioned herself in. And so when I talked with her, she was navigating letting go of that one and perhaps being part of a social justice legal team. So in other words, as teams would fight things throughout the country, she would be the one that would write their case for them. However, you are not going to make enough money to have a condo in Colorado and a condo in the Keys and travel back and forth between the two. And also, there would be a transition in order to make this happen in a practical way. Only she would know how and when that happens. In other words, this letting go would probably not be a one-time event. Probably. Some people have it like that, but most people don't. Rather, it's a process of understanding and of acceptances. Does that resonate with your heart? Thinking of it, not like all of a sudden now I'm going to do it, but it's a process of understandings and acceptances. Let me see, Phoebe. Oh, good, because I'm super late here. I'll catch up after. Shabbat shalom, Phoebe. Yeah, you could watch tonight and then catch up next week as well. I'll probably summarize it a little. Another example of this. I met a gentleman at my farmer's market who, along with his wife, worked their whole lives as teachers. They saved. They didn't go on vacations, hardly, so that they could retire at 65 and travel the world together. Right when they were supposed to leave, the pandemic hit. About 9 months after that happened, his wife suddenly passed away unexpectedly. And he could no longer fulfill the dream of his past. So you see, the attorney that I am talk to you about, that was different. That was, I have this dream, and all of a sudden, different experiences started to make her uncomfortable, like maybe that's no longer my dream. In this situation, he didn't have a choice about it. It was taken, literally taken from him. And he could no longer fulfill the dream that he had with his wife of the past. So his life was a process of understanding what those changes look like and the acceptance of the changes and then the creation of new dreams. It was not a one-time, I'm going to let go of the past dreams. Proverbs 13:12 says, hope deferred makes the heart sick, but desire fulfilled is a tree of life. And notice here that the proverb very much connects the pain of the deferred heart with the dream, the fulfillment of life. Loss of a desire is a huge emotional issue, and it hurts the heart for sure. And so we need to deal with this in a healthy way. This is one of my favorite quotes. It's by W.H. Alden. Truth, like love and sleep, resent approaches that are too intense. I'll read that one more time because this is the best quote. Truth, like love and sleep, resent approaches that are too intense. So when we go through our issues and we're dealing with either dreams or letting go of pains that are connected with dreams and all of it, we're talking about letting go of the past. It's not healthy for someone to come up to you and say, you just need to let it go, get over it, and move on. Now, right now, today. And it's also not healthy for you to do that to your own heart. This whole thing of that we see in the Western church where we walk an aisle and pray a prayer and it's instant healing. If that's happened to you, I've had a couple of those things in my life. If that's happened to you, thank God for that. But usually it's the work that God is in. And so truth, like love and sleep, resent approaches that are too intense. Meaning when you're wrestling with truth to see it, and you're attempting to consider letting go of the past, you have to be gentle with your heart. Because truth resents approaches that are too intense. It will get shut down. There is a grace, I don't know about you, but there's really a freedom in that for me. There's a grace and an individual process that comes with accepting truth. Because I wanted that, or even still do, who will I be without that desire? So this is a personal work. It's a process that you need to do. How do you know when to let it go? Sometimes it's a revelation and an event, sometimes, but usually it's a series of understandings and a series of practices. So I think I'm going to stop there for tonight and pick up a little bit more of the practical application with that next week about how to let go and when to let go. And I'm going to close here tonight because, again, just like the quote that we just used, we're not going to rush into this. We're going to allow our heart to have this kind of peaceful process to move like a dance. So we're going to close this time with the lighting of the Shabbos candles. And traditionally, the mothers of the home light the Sabbath lights that represent the light of the Sabbath, joy, peace, and unity. And then the tradition is she encircles her hands 3 times around the candles, and that's a gesture that welcomes in the Sabbath. The Lord is our light and our salvation. May his light be our guidance, one step at a time, as we open our heart to the process and the enlightenment of letting go. Amen.